we know we're growing apart, and like this was like a last effort to try to figure things out, and I just feel like maybe the more layers we pull back, the more I realize like it's just I don't even feel like I have the want to pursue that anymore.
Yeah.
I'll be very straightforward. I know that she doesn't trust me fully.
That's true. I don't fully trust him. It was something that happened along the way that I felt like he gave me reasons to feel like not secure in how he felt about me, like how seriously he took or valued our relationship.
You're hurt.
Yeah, I felt very hurt. I felt very hurt. It kind of messed with my head, you know, like, because it made me start looking at myself like there was something wrong with me.
For being upset.
Right. And deep down inside, I felt like there was more going on than he was really telling me.
First of all, how are you feeling right now?
Annoyed. I'm a little annoyed. Yeah. There's nothing happened. Like, I never cheated on her. I've never stepped out on her. When we were dating, like, that's just not me.
So what made Evelyn suspicious of you?
I think she just knew that the majority of the employees at my job were female, and there was a lot of social
What kind
events.
of company?
It was a fashion company. It was
Fashion.
yeah. You know, in the course of the night, I made an immature decision to like, hey, not give you that call and let you know like I'm still out because my frame of mind was I'm probably gonna hear it, and I didn't want to hear it. I think we've gotten to the point that it's happened so often that it made us question like, hey, what are we doing? Because I feel like, what's a relationship without trust? Yeah. I think it's just a bad cycle of just having this mindset like, if I'm 100% honest, this might backfire, and do I say anything at all?
So you're trying to control that by not saying anything.
I was, and now
Yeah.
I've been exploring this thing where I'm just gonna be upfront and see how that goes.
Right.
Yeah. But I am still apprehensive. I'm not 100% there, but yeah. Like I haven't quit cold turkey yet.
Right.
Yeah. I have caught him in like little lies like that, or being dishonest.
But let's talk about the dishonesty or the lies.
Yeah.
You're saying that part of the reason you lie is you don't want to face judgment and critique and conflict.
Correct.
Let's say you decide you don't want to lie, and you're going to be saying something that Evelyn doesn't approve of. You're going to be hanging out with someone Evelyn doesn't trust, or hanging out for 7 hours at a bar. Your wife disapproves of you, and you're still standing there being honest. So what's your alternative if you don't want to lie about it, if you want to go about it in another way?
So you want me to play it out, or?
For example, yeah. What if you did that now? Let's see what happens.
I don't think there's anything wrong with the contact that I have with people that I meet. It's never something that you think it is or fear that it might be. And you need to trust that. Because it's gonna continue to happen, and I don't want there to be this pattern of just like an issue every time I meet somebody.
Wait. What you're doing right now is different, because what you're doing right now is you're trying to manage Evelyn's disappointment. Let her be upset.
Okay.
You be true to yourself and let her be.
Okay. I don't think there's anything wrong with what I'm doing. And I would hope that you would realize that so we can stop having disagreements about things like this.
All right, you're still managing her.
Yeah, I don't know.
Just stay with yourself. Just stay with yourself. I don't feel like there's something wrong with what I'm doing. I see that you're upset, but I don't think there's anything wrong with what I'm doing. I'm okay with having these contacts. You respond to that.
Honestly.
Honestly.
You don't see anything wrong with the contact? No, I'm not. I'm just like trying to rethink this. I guess initially it would come across maybe like a little selfish. You know, like, oh, okay, he just wants to
He wants to do what he wants
do
to
what
do.
he wants to do, right? And maybe that's more important.
More important than...
Right, than I guess our relationship or my feelings.
Let's hear your feelings.
I guess for me, it feels like maybe I need to do that more.
Do what you want to do.
Right. But then I feel like then we might as well be living two different lives and just cohabitate.
Well,
Like,
if you
kinda
don't
like
really
that.
want to do anything together, if the honest truth is you don't want to do anything together, well, then that's a good question. But I think if this issue of avoidance and honesty is at the moment like the core issue that you've put on the table here, the first thing you need to do is be able to bear the truth. Right now, you need to say the truth and you need to see the truth.
My dad's always told me, like, you make sure you're happy because you're ultimately in charge of that. You know what I'm saying? Like, don't depend on anyone. You know, going back to when we got married, like, the day before he was supposed to come out, like, he just said he's not coming. Because he didn't believe that I was doing the right thing.
Wow. That's sabotage.
He had a girlfriend, like, you know, like, I guess my mom had called him for something and like she picked up the phone. I don't know what, something transpired and no, it's just like my dad. No, I don't even know why I'm getting upset.
Keep going.
No, my dad always told me that. He's like, you taught me a lot. You told me a lot about relationships, like how much you love. You know, my parents had split up shortly after, so it's just like, I don't understand.
Yeah.
I think it just ties into everything that we, like the mistrust and stuff like that. And as much as I may put myself in a position where it looks like I'm doing something like that, I would never do that. If I cheat on you or if there's no turning back from that.
How are you two? We left on an interesting note last week.
The last week has been like not so great.
Agreed.
Really didn't talk to each other much for 7 days.
Okay.
In the last week, I feel more further away from her.
But what's going on in your mind?
Just feel fed up and frustrated and that I don't want to do this anymore. So I just feel like we're kind of having like a reawakening on who we are as individuals. And they may not align as far as a relationship, a marriage is concerned. And like, I know it's supposed to be like, I'm supposed to take responsibility for the things that I'm doing wrong. But like, my thing is like, it's her. I just feel like she's never happy. Like, it's always something with her.
But that's your summary in your mind of why you're done? Because she will never be happy?
In a nutshell, yeah.
Where are you?
I don't know if we mentioned this to you, but we had bought another car. It's a convertible. In the summertime, Alan started kind of bringing it up. Like, it would be a great chance for you and I to, like, make our first purchase together and kind of, like, start building on that. And long story short, he ended up buying the car on his own for himself and told me that it's for the both of us. Like, he just wanted to get it and get the paperwork done and this and that, but it was for the both of us. When Alan went away, he took the keys of the garage where we keep the car because he didn't want me to drive it. And the reason I'm bringing this up is because it's a repetitiveness of, like, saying one thing and doing the total opposite. And that's been, like, a recurring pattern in our marriage, in our relationship. Mm-hmm. So when he says to you that, oh, it's really about me not being happy, mm-hmm. There's really a root of those things. There's a reason for it. It's not because I'm crazy. Mm-hmm. It's because there's a foundation of that, like saying one thing and then doing another thing. Mm-hmm. And that's, in a nutshell, what it has been and how you are with me.
Right. Of course, you're not crazy. Neither of you are crazy. But you're each kind of entrenched in your own pattern. What do the two of you want to do with your relationship?
We know we're growing apart, mm-hmm. and like this was like a last effort, mm-hmm. to try to figure things out, and mm-hmm. I just feel like maybe the more layers we pull back, the more I realize, like, it's just I don't even feel like I have the want to mm-hmm. pursue that anymore.
Yeah. It's a difficult moment of truth.
Yeah.
That you're both expressing. How much of this kind of, maybe it's time to separate, how much of that is true for you? Do you feel like you're 100% behind that?
Yes.
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 Mm-hmm. And you?
Yeah. I don't know what else to do. Like, I don't know if there's any cure for it. Because I just feel like there's an
disease.
Huh?
It's not a disease. Wanting to separate or reaching an end of a relationship is not a disease.
But how do you know? Like, are there telltale things that it's it? Is it based on every couple's different? Like,
how do you know if this is an end that needs to happen as opposed to just running away from something? Is that what you're asking?
I think he's asking, how do you know this, like, whether these are signs of it being the end kind of thing?
Like, is there any, like, textbook signs that we're showing, like, yeah, maybe they should probably, like, throw in the towel?
You're asking me, do you look like a couple that's reached an end?
Or from what we've communicated to you, like, or do you just feel like we just stopped trying and we're not even trying anymore?
I'd have to spend a lot more time with you to really answer that fully, but it takes, first of all, a lot of love and want to change. And you also have to want it enough that you'd be willing to change something in yourself, something fundamental. And that's a very difficult thing to do. You have to really want the relationship and love your partner in a way that moves you to transcend yourself.
She told me when we went out to the dinner, she had been looking at places already, like, yeah. So it's just like weird.
Weird, but it sounds like you're in touch
Weird, but
with the fact that it hurts.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It makes me think about it more like, this is something you really want to do. Like, you know? When we first started dating, we were out to dinner, and I remember she told me, like, what expectations she had for the person that she was with. And for whatever reason, that always resonated with me. Like, that's what I've spent these years trying to do, to make sure, like...
That you meet that
expectation.
And, like,
she doesn't give a shit about that.
You're finding yourself resentful because it seems like you're never meeting it. You're always somehow, there's some way that you're falling short.
Yeah. I don't think she's ever stopped the thought, like, this person's trying to make my life better.
Yeah.
Haven't I always made sure you were on top of stuff? Made sure you had insurance so you could take care of things?
Yes.
Alan, I wouldn't say that. I never thought that you were trying to, like...
Well, you make me feel like that.
You really feel like that?
Of course I feel like that. That's what I'm telling you.
I never knew that, Alan. Like, you've never expressed that, like, that you felt like
Because
that.
it's like, I just don't want to make a thing about anything. Like, my approach is
Right,
different.
but
Like, I just, like, tuck it away. Like, I
right,
don't say
but
anything.
The business of tucking things away doesn't really work to sustain a real marriage.
But I think the way I've been handling it is that, like, I go into this disbelief that and I resent her for it, like, and I just don't.
Right. But then you grow increasingly miserable and resentful, not feeling good about yourself and resentful that your efforts are not recognized. And I assume that some of these behaviors just slip away and you start acting shady. They're almost like passive-aggressive ways of getting back at Evelyn for making you feel bad. Maybe even, I'm gonna punish Evelyn unconsciously.
Maybe.
Maybe.
Maybe it might be tied into that. Like, it's almost just kind of like a, forget you kind of thing. Like, I'm doing
you
my
make me
own
feel
thing.
bad. I'm just
so I don't care about you or your feelings. Or maybe,
Yeah.
Sure.
By operating this way, you weaken the relationship.
Yeah.
So you weaken it, and then it's harder to trust it. How are you two?
Good.
We're good.
We've been communicating more. We've been, we try to meditate as often as possible.
You do?
Yeah. She got me into it.
Oh.
Yeah.
And we've been doing it together.
Yeah. So we've been following kind of a reprogramming.
Breaking the patterns.
Yeah, breaking patterns and trying to kind of move, let go of the past, kind of stuff.
Just
Trying to break bad habits.
Wow.
That may be affecting us. I feel like what you mentioned last week about the difference in our approaches, what she's trying to build on, I'm going reverse or doing this dance, and I think it just helped me step back and reflect, and I'm putting myself in the very position that I don't want to be in by the way I'm doing things. So.
Meaning you're weakening the relationship,
Correct.
and then you're looking at it and you're saying it looks weak.
Yeah, and it's just a vicious cycle where it's I'm never.
I can't trust it.
Yeah, I'm not even giving her an opportunity, or for us to get something right because I'm so standoffish about the way things have been.
That's big.
So.
No, that's huge. I've noticed the change even in him from last week. Just, just him being more open to like listening to me, and I don't think he realized like how that was really happening.
How guarded
How guarded he was.
been, yeah.
No, I
You know,
didn't. It's
yeah.
almost like I put blame on her and I've been
Yeah.
like defensive towards her. So almost like maybe in some ways I felt like I made up my mind. Like maybe I didn't want to save the relationship.
It's the same thing with me, you know? Whenever I would feel like anything had to do with trust, I would go back and think about the times that he's done these things to me where I felt like, well, this is an example of why I can't trust you. Like, I had all these things, you
Yeah.
know, not realizing that I'm actually triggering Alan to, like, more stress.
You know, I do want us to move forward, and I would like to take things a step at a time. Like, I just don't want to make any more rash decisions with us anymore.
Neither do I.
I love you, you know that.